Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Gil here, and today in this Tekken 7 video we're going to do a bit of learning, a bit of soul searching. So, the latest Tekken, as of the time of this recording, has a really cool thing. It has 49 characters of all shapes and sizes, literally, and that can be both a blessing and a burden. So, the blessing is that probably you'll be interested in a handful of characters in the cast. The burden part is that it can be a little bit intimidating or a bit time consuming to get started with those characters. Since each character has an average of 70 moves and it's kind of difficult to decide what is situational, what's core. So with today's video, my aim is to teach you a step-by-step guide on how you can, in a very organized way, learn how to understand the basics of a character and hit the ground running. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's pick our guinea pig, Kazumi Mishima. Alright, so here we have Kazumi on the left, and we're gonna use Kazumi as the character, as the example character, where I will show you all of the concepts that we'll go over using her as our example, as I just said. So, the first place where I like to get started is to explore the generics of a Tekken character. For those that don't know, generic tools, it's almost self-explanatory. It's the buttons or tools that almost every Tekken character has in some way. They probably will differ amongst the cast in some subtle ways or sometimes even huge ways, and it's important to see what your character offers in those generic ways. So, let's just start one by one. The most important generic tool in Tekken is your jab. Is your one jab. So I always recommend you to every character has a jab. So you don't have to worry about a new character that you're trying out not having a jab. So just kind of want to get a feel for it, kind of answer some questions like, does it have good range? Does it look like it has good recovery? Let's see, can you do the forward one tech? So for those that don't know, some characters, if they don't have an input for forward one, then they can extend the range on their jab. If you do jab and forward at the same time, it slightly increases the range. You can kind of explore the jab. So this isn't something we need to spend a lot of time on since every character in Tekken has a jab. The next important thing to figure out on a character is a low commitment mid check, which often takes the form of a down forward one, as you can see. Most characters have a very generic down forward one that is quick on the startup. You're looking for 13 frames most of the time. Some characters it's a bit slower, or they have their generic mid check on a different button. Like Marduk, he has his on down forward 4 or down forward 2 if I remember right. So Kazumi has a very generic down forward 1, and what you're looking for is a quick startup, which it has, as you can see on the screen. It has a 13 frame startup, and on block, you don't sacrifice your entire turn. That's what you're looking for with just a run-of-the-mill mid-check. You just want to throw it out, not a lot of risk involved, and just making sure that your opponent stays in check, and on hits it will give you a good chunk of advantage. So Kazumi so far, just a generic jab, and she has a down forward one. I'm going to try to stay away from overusing the word generic. So, we have a high, we have a low commitment mid. What's next? So, the next place where I like to suggest you start with a character is to explore their lows, see if they have a generic low, or a low poke even. So most characters, they have a generic down 4, which often is high crushing, does minimal damage, and it leaves you at minus frames most of the time. It looks like she has one at 16 frames, which isn't too fast if I do down 4. Down 4 is usually the input that most characters have for such a generic. But here's where things can get a bit interesting, and it just depends on your experience level with learning Tekken. Either you go through the entire move list one by one, or you just have a basic idea of how to explore these. With some characters, Kazumi in this case, her quickest low poke is down 3+4. Let me actually turn on the command history. There we go. So that's her quickest low poke. Nothing special, but you have it in your arsenal of moves. So let's look at some chunkier lows. I've already did my pre-homework right here, so I can show you guys. So Kazumi, she has that. This is a really good low. Every character will have different strengths of lows, and Kazumi in this case with down back 3. It is a 17 frame startup move, and it just leaves you in an advantageous frame situation. And 17 frame startup is quite fast for a low. She has these, down 4, down 3, but I think if you want to just high crush, you just go for the down 3+4. But I don't want to get bogged down in the details too much. Another major low, and this is just something you'll just explore, is down back 4. I wouldn't necessarily put these in her generic toolkit, but you'll probably find some stuff that stands out to you. Down back 4 with her, I think is 20 frames. It's not the fastest, but it is an important low of hers. So let's recap up until this point. We explored a high option, a jab, super important in Tekken. Leaves you advantageous on hit, on block. It stops a lot of stuff. It's generally the fastest startup option you have for a character. Then we have a mid check, right there, which often is a down forward one, but in inputs. But what you're just looking for is an attack that has reasonably fast startup, and with a mid 13 frames thereabouts, something you're looking for, and is decent on block. -3 is not bad at all. And some down forward ones, as you'll explore, will actually have an extension. Kazumi has down forward 1, 2, and that is something you'll just have to explore with your character, see if they have different extensions, and you check for, and you extrapolate from that point on, see what they're going to be used for. And as I said, we have a quick low poke, a couple actually. So, what's next? We're not done with the generic yet. What you also probably need is just a simple long range or medium range, depending on your character, just poke, just to annoy your character with. Often these pokes can be found with a down forward input, either down forward 1 or often a kick button. With Kazumi, what we're looking at is down forward 4. 15 frame startup on a good ranging mid. It's decent on block and decent on hit. It's just something to keep your opponent in check at a further range. So, another generic tool to look for is, since every character has this in Tekken 7, is a homing move. Since obviously this is a 3D game, so at some point you're going to try to reach a point where you can navigate in that 3D space and your opponent will try to walk around your moves, and this is how you keep them in check if they try to sidestep you. So Kazumi has two very simple homing moves. Back 2, as you can see, it's mid, pretty bad, very bad on block actually. -9 is as bad as it can get without getting punished. And she has forward 4. This is something you'll be able to explore in the move list. Let's see, I'll give you an example. Homing moves. There you go. Forward 4, they have the blue symbol, that arrow that goes around. So there you go. I'm trying not to get bogged up in details here, since this is just a quick introductory look at a character. So, another incredibly important tool that I should have mentioned before, this is something that every character has in some way, is what we call a duck jab, or as some people would call a dick jab. What's important about this is it's a special mid, so people can low parry it actually, but that's for another episode. But it is more than likely going to be your character's fastest high crushing move and fastest startup move to just stop offense. If your opponent's in your face, sometimes it can be worth it to throw out a duck jab, aka dick jab, to stop their offense. Every character has that. Here's the thing that might differ on some characters. Usually the input is down +1. As you can see my inputs right here, Kazumi does down +1. But that is not at all a dick jab right there. So with some characters it might be down back, or very rarely down forward. So that is just something you need to explore with your character. See what is the input for you to get the quickest dick jab out to stop your opponent's pressure. So to sum up, the generics that I recommend you to have a look at are quick high pokes, your jab, mid checks, low pokes, mid-range pokes, some homing moves, and of course, which can be your savior or what exactly gets you killed, your dick jab. So let's go to the next section. And the next important part of learning a character is to explore your punishment options. So for those that don't know what punishment means in a fighting game, it's nothing kinky, okay, nothing kinky. It just means capitalizing on any mistakes your opponent makes. Most of the time that takes the shape of block punishing, either standing or crouching block punishment, but sometimes it's whiff punishment, where your opponent throws out a move, just a neutral, and he or she can't recover in time. They can't block or move in time before you can retaliate. That's a whiff punishment. Those are the three punishment categories for you to have a look at. So, standing punishment. Let's see, I have a fun example here. In general, for block punishment, you're looking to cover the ranges of punishing moves that are between -10 frames and -15 frames. If you do that, and if you explore that, you'll have a solid suite of punishment tools for any character. So let's see. Kazumi, she has 1-1-2, the classic Mishima Flash Punch combo. You're going to see this a lot in Tekken. Or she has 1-2-2. I'll show you a quick example here. Here's his down forward 2-3, which is -11 on block. And this is how you'll explore that in training mode. The game will tell you when it's a punishment. Like right there, I messed up the timing. There you go. There you go. So that gives you a basic idea of how to explore punishment options. Just go through the move list and see what matches up. Then we'll just go through Kazumi's full options right here. She also has 1+2 for 12 frames. And she can hold forward to apply a baked-in mix-up, but we'll get into mix-ups later. Then she also has down forward 1-2. Very solid. 13 frames, she gets a guaranteed knockdown. And then here it gets a bit weird. At 15 frames, she has her hop kick. Many characters can launch at 15 frames in some way. She can too, but it doesn't have a lot of range. So luckily Kazumi has an alternative option. She has 3-2. As you can see, 3 is 15 frames and it's a natural combo. So then we also have crouching punishment, where you block a crouching move or you duck under a high. You'll see here. And you just block it and you stand up with an attack and take care of it. Or this goes into more intermediate territories, where your opponent has a move that you can duck under and punish as such. So right there, down forward 2-3, it ends up in a high, as you can see. Boom. You just launch them like that. Most characters have options that are quick enough to launch in such scenarios. So I'll just go through, there you go, okay, calm down, Fakumram. So most characters have a good assortment of options between 10 and 15 frames. Right here, crouching, she has full crouch down 1, which is just a generic dick jab. Or she has while standing 4-4 at 11 frames. That's something that is close to universal. Most characters have an 11 frame startup while standing move, and hers even wall splats, which is really crazy. But of course there are exceptions to that, as with anything in life. Then she also has while standing 1-2 for 13 frames, right? No, 12 frames, even better. There you go. I'm playing on my pad rather than my stick, and you can see it. I'm not used to it, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Or Kazumi can stand up with a hop kick at 15 frames, but it has the same issue, where it doesn't have a lot of range. She also has a slower option, which is at 18 frames, which has a lot more range, but this is stuff that is nice to explore because it's very straightforward. There isn't a lot of ambivalence about it. You just have to explore your character's move list. It helps to put your opponent as on recording certain moves, or you can use the game's built-in punishment training. As you can see here, this is such a great addition that they added to the game. So if you explore your punishment training, that will already just fast track you to knowing what your character's punishments are, but it might not be all including. You might have to go through the move list as well. Then the final part of punishment is whiff punishment that I explained before, where they throw out something in neutral. There you go. Here you're looking for chunky moves that give you a good reward but have good range, which is that right there. With Kazumi it's 3-2. Oh, let's see. I messed up. There you go. So you're just looking for something that has a lot of range. Like right there, a hop kick does not have a lot of range. Well, I just did a neutral one there. You get the idea. So, for whiff punishment, to sum it all up, you're looking for a move that gives you a chunky amount of damage, is relatively quick, but most importantly has a lot of range, so you can capitalize on any thrown out limbs that have a lot of recovery on your opponent. Alrighty, onwards to the next section, ladies and gentlemen. So now for the next part of this video, we're going to be entering a less straightforward part of learning a new character. So, winning in a fighting game can be boiled down to ending each round with more health than your opponent has. And that means that no matter what, you'll have to have some sort of basic offense, whether it's just, you just jab your opponent out and they never block. That's offense, And since learning offense is a lot easier than learning defense, this next part of the video will be about finding offensive starters, finding plus some block moves, and even we're going to start identifying simple frame traps that you can put into your game plan. So if I'm going to explain to you how you need to explore your character's offensive options, offensive starters, I think a very important place to start is to explain to you what a frame trap is if you don't know yet. It's better to show rather than tell, and then we'll just go from there. So right here we have Shopping Mall Kazumi and Arabian Nights Kazumi on the right. We're Shopping Mall Kazumi right here. And I'm going to show you a very, very simple frame trap right here. Huh? I'm pressing buttons, but I'm getting fucked up? What? Crazy. So, that right there is a frame trap. It means you just got into a positive frame scenario like Arabian Nights Kazumi right there. She punished me with her jab combo, and then she is at +4 frames. If I press something that is slower than 5 frames, I will get counter hit. And since no one in this game has a 5-frame startup move, most characters only have moves to start up at 10 frames. So that means if I press a button, because the Arabian Nights Kazumi will get a big reward for it with certain moves. In this case, she gets a counter hit starter. And speaking of counter hit starters, right here, our Kazumi, of course, has a standing 4 as well. This is super important in formulating offense. It's kind of figuring out very simple frame traps right there. And Kazumi, if she has a slight frame advantage and you decide to press a button against her and she does standing 4, you're gonna get hella fucked up, you know, whatever her wall combo is right there. I think it's like jab down forward 1-2 or something. Either way, don't quote me on that. So as I said, this is a less straightforward part of the tutorial, so forgive me if I'm not entirely clear, but I am doing my best to be as concise as possible with you and being a good teacher for you. So the best ways to gain frame advantage is punishment. Yeah, you got it. You got it. I heard you in the back of the class. So that's what the last section just came into. You can gain frame advantage like that. Or sometimes you can force frame advantage by, your opponent is blocking or they're just not doing a lot. You're just going to force some frame advantage. So some moves on block, they leave you favorable, but many don't. And Kazumi, she isn't very blessed to have lots of plus and block moves where she can start setting up frame traps or mix-ups or anything like that. But the few plus and block moves that Kazumi has is forward 3 and hold forward. It puts her into her fly stance. You only get the plus frames if you go into fly stance. And out of there you have all sorts of options. Your opponent has to make proper decisions on how to deal with it, which goes into a lot more depth than we need to right now. So she has that to go into plus frames, or it goes a bit further than that. Out of fly stance, she has 1+2. Let's see. There you go, it's +4. So, with your character of choice, just explore some moves. A lot of characters have a lot better privilege when it comes to plus and block moves. There you go. So just explore whatever is plus and block on your character, because that's how you can put some pressure on your opponent. They have to start playing by your rule book. Of course, they have plenty of options unless you're like super plus, you're like +10, they can't sidestep, whatever, they have to make the correct guess even in that situation. So, let me just look at my notes here. So we covered plus and block moves, simple frame traps like Arabian Nights Kazumi is doing to us, But the way to beat that is to, either just block, because she's -9. Whoa, can I sidestep? Can I? Yeah, I can. So, you do that, try to figure out what your really good counter hit moves are, because that will make your opponent scared every time you're plus, no matter if you're plus on block, plus because of punishment, or whatever. And then of course, wow, Jesus. Did I turn her on counter hit all? Yeah, I thought so. Or you can gain, plus from hitting people in any sort of way. So hopefully that makes sense. You're just looking for, here you start putting together the plus frames that you earn through punishment, this is the most important part probably of this section is um, here your offensive package means you're going to start leveraging all the plus frames that you have been collecting in some ways, whether it's just whiff punishment, block punishment, or you just, you know, you force them to block. There you go. She wasn't blocking, of course, but you know what I mean. So hopefully that makes sense. This is where most of the creativity will probably go into exploring the character, but don't worry about finding out everything. Just find a very simple... This has a bad connotation with it, but it is appropriate to use. Just find a simple flowchart for your character, where you can start putting pressure on your opponent and start fucking their day up. Alrighty, so we're reaching the end of this basic character introduction tutorial. So you're going to be playing your character, you're going to be doing some really cool and sick shit, but every once in a while you'll score a knockdown. Whether it's like I just did, a quick whiff punish, a full-on combo ender, it doesn't matter, you're going to score knockdowns every once in a while. And then we want to apply what we call okazeme. For those that haven't heard of the term or don't know what it means, okazeme, or Oki for short, is simply whenever you knock your opponent down, it means the ensuing pressure that you can apply on them. Because when they're knocked down, their options are severely limited, and it's basically the world is your oyster if you have some basic options. So there are three main things your opponent can do after you knock them down. There are more, of course, but they're a bit more niche, and we're just getting the feel for our character, so we don't have to go rocket science yet. That comes later. It comes after many, many hours. So one of the main things they can do is actually nothing. They can just lay on the ground, just chill. You know, just look up your skirt or whatever if you're wearing that. So, of course, we don't want them to just chill down there. We want to keep hounding them, so we're gonna look for moves that hit grounded, because not everything hits grounded. Right here, you see, the leg just goes right through him. You know, not everything hits grounded. So, at this point, you probably have a basic idea of your character's moves, but so you can kind of like infer what will probably hit grounded. Just make sure you test it out, of course. And with Kazumi, her main option is this like punch right here, this grounded punch. Boom, she just viciously punches you while you're down. Or she can do down back 3 or down 4, which are not as good. You're just looking for an option that's pretty good that hits your opponent grounded. Often characters have a stomp where you just do down with whatever button, and they get a canned animation that only works if your opponent's grounded. With Kazumi, as you can see, oh shit, you can do down 2 from across. Well, if your opponent isn't grounded, I believe. Yeah, if your opponent is not grounded, she gets this. So it's just a canned animation that only works when your opponent's on the ground. So that is only one of the options, is your opponent just lays on the ground and just chills all day. Another option is they can feel feisty. What? How dare you kick me? So sometimes when they're on the ground, they want to retaliate. If you smell that they're going to retaliate, here's one major thing. It doesn't matter what character you play. If you smell that they're going to retaliate, you can just backdash. And just whiff punish. Refer to your whiff punishment part of the video or your notes. But if you really call that out, you can go for a counter hit. Earlier on, we went on about counter hit standing 4, but that doesn't work because it's a high and they're coming off the ground. So you're looking for a mid that gives you a big chunk of damage if you counter hit. With Kazumi, that's back 4. Not too special if you just hit them normally. Awful in block. The reason it's awful in block is because of this. There you go. And you can apply whatever combo you want. Preferably you're going to look for mids that give you full combo. Not every character has them though, but you're just going to look for something juicy. And then the next option that your character has, and it doesn't matter if they wake up with a mid kick or a low kick, guys. Either way, you can counter hit them very hard. Another thing is called a tech roll, where they go into a canned animation. They roll either left or right, and it gets them off the ground as quick as possible. That's one of the three main options of what your opponent can do when they got knocked down. And because they're in this very canned animation right here, it's a pretty long animation actually. You get to apply what we call 50-50. Most players go either for a low or they go for a mid. And that's what we'll do. You just kind of want to figure out what your lows and mids are that have a good return on investment. With Kazumi, her low that gives her a good chunk of damage and frame advantages is +4. Down back 4. Or because they have to at this point, they have to guess either low or mid, or they have to try to move out of it, but they're getting off the ground, so their movement is severely limited. Of course, if you're feeling juicy, you can go for a launching mid, and even better, if that launching mid... Let's see, let's turn this off. Yeah. We don't want him to kick anymore. Even better, if that launching mid is safe on block, like Kazumi's forward. It's relatively rare throughout the game for you to have a mid that launches that's safe, but if you have one with your character, abuse the F out of it, guys. So, to recap, you want to look for a move that hits grounded. You want to look for a big counter hit starting move to get them if they try to press a button while they're getting up. And you want to find a good mid and low to annoy them with. Preferably, if your mid can be a safe launcher, do it, man. That'd be amazing. So here we go, one more part to the video, and thank you very much for making it this far, ladies and gentlemen. So here we are, where everything began. Infinite Azure with Kazumi and Shaheen. Here we have our final piece of the puzzle, which is called combos. You might think that combos are the most important thing of your character, but actually you would be wrong if you thought that. Combos are just a little dessert that you treat yourself with after you've done all the other hard work. The only reason we need combos is because you want to capitalize on all of your opponent's mistakes as hard as possible, and hence you need to do combo damage, you need to do chunks of damage. So with this, with your character, I would say just go onto YouTube or use the in-game combo trials that they have. They have some very simple combos that you can learn, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for simple combos for your character that you won't drop, and they don't have to be super brain scientist, surgeon, just pretty simple and straightforward. And besides that, here in the background you'll see Kazumi's staple combos, and I'll write down the inputs of them down below, so if the character you're learning happens to be Kazumi, there you go. And besides that, ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys have learned something from it, and if you did, even if you haven't, just let me know. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts, any questions. I'd love to answer them. Maybe other people will be able to answer them. And besides that, if you want to like or subscribe to my channel, would be awesome. Make all sorts of cool Tekken content and even other content. So, but most of all, thank you very much for watching, guys. My name's been Gil. I'll see you next time.